Hey, how's it going, y'all? Joshua Lorellis, channel Mutation. Just wanted to hop in here. I'm over here in Texas at the parents' house. It's been a beautiful week. Got a super awesome opportunity to be there for my brother's wedding and just spending some time out here with the family. It's beautiful. Super happy for them. Happy for everyone. Just wanted to come in here and talk to you guys about the nature of death and rebirth. It's a really interesting topic, and I'm really happy to talk about it and share a little bit about that subject with y'all. It's just been a huge opportunity and blessing to be able to be of service, to be able to show up for my family, and to be able to witness that sacred act of marriage, that divine matrimony. Anyways, so here we are out here in Texas. Hello everyone. So basically, death and rebirth. Here we are coming up into this Scorpio season. For those of you who follow the astrology movements, some of you have seen me talk about astrology. It's very quite ironic considering a little bit of the front that I put on here. It's just an amazing reflection to think about when I was in Texas last out here for the eclipse. That was a really super cool cosmic experience. Wow. And then even before that, before my parents moved into this new house, whenever we were at our old house over in Wiley, a couple times I had moved from Arizona to Wiley and back again, like 3 times I think it was, before I finally settled into Arizona for the last few years, since 2021. And every time I come back here to my parents' house, there is a little bit of agitation, there's a little bit of angst that shows up for me, because there's been residual feelings of that time in my life whenever I was an immense failure and I had barely anything. I was dragging everything around with me. I was living from place to place. At one point I lived on a friend's couch. Shout out to a homie who was also a Marine who took me in, brothers in arms. So that was a huge blessing for me. And then subsequently moving on to a few other people's places, but ultimately in 2021 making my jump to Arizona, and nothing but upward bound since then. So at this point in time, coming out here for about a week and a half for my brother's wedding and for my aunt and uncle's anniversary. Yeah, a lot's been coming up for me. A lot of the shadow, a lot of perspective about the past, a lot of perspective about the future, a lot of insight into where I fall short in life. And it's really a huge opportunity for me to go deep in my journaling and my meditation and my practices and really come to some stillness. It's been really beautiful to get some deep rest. So I wanted to come on here with you guys and talk a little bit about this nature of death and rebirth, and just know that before every rebirth there's that death that's going to take place. And for those of us who are in the alchemy, who are in the esoteric work, who are in the personal development work, the spirituality work, even if you're religious, there is this concept of dying to self. And that is extremely important to consider even if you're looking at astrology, that would be the sign of Scorpio, which the sun is in now, where we're headed through, which is this death, ruled by the planet of Pluto. If you understand the planetary and zodiacal archetypes, there's this death that takes place. And a lot of us, especially me, I was resisting to this a lot. That's the ego. The ego is always resisting this experience of death. They say out there in spiritual talk and personal development, this ego death, this idea of dying to the soul to come out. And that's super important because the soul is light. Right? Death would be darkness in a sense. So in a lot of cases when we talk about the shadow, we're looking at life through this lens of darkness. And really to be able to move through that takes a great amount of courage. So it takes acting, it takes doing things, it takes making mistakes, it takes making failures. And for me, I failed over and over and over and over again. Really, I'm one of those people who did not really have a shot. If you look at the way that my track record has been since I was like a kid, having mental health problems since I was early age, being medicated against my will with pharmaceuticals, being placed in as a child, institutions, asylums, and things like that. That had carried over into how I was approaching relationships, how I was approaching work, how I was approaching jobs, how I was approaching, even in the military, a vast, large amount of resistance and opposition and defiance towards authority, towards mentorship, towards work. And even now I'm facing, as I come back into this familiarized zone of family dynamic, I am looking at these tendencies pop up within myself. And luckily for me at this point, I've had a lot of experience in meditation and mindfulness and movement and psychological training and communication training. And every time I come back here and I experience people from my past, I always really have to put that armor on hardcore and to be able to just find that space in between the stimulus and response, so that way I can respond with a new self. And in that moment, it's important to consider that there's a dying, there's a death to that old self, death of the old self to the new self. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. That's uncomfortable for me, and it's something that I've definitely had to work through. And now I'm seeing different points where I'm dying to this new self, and I'm submitting over to the present moment, to God, to the universe. And some practices that I've done to really help with that have been the breath work, have been the pranayama, the yoga. Whenever you go through a yoga class and you end it in shavasana, which is the corpse pose, there's that death that takes place. It's symbolic, but in a way you can experience that within your being if you have the right willingness and the right openness to experience that, and possibly even a right type of facilitator to help walk you through that process. You can have that death, but then you can condition yourself inside of that container space, inside of that sacred space, so that way whenever life comes and we want to respond differently to the experiences that we're going through, we have that opportunity to submit and let go and then die to that new self. So it's definitely a process that cultures and shamans and different spiritual leaders have been working through for people over the ages. And now here in this day and age, it's so convenient to jump on social media, to jump on any type of YouTube or content and get that fix. And a lot of times, we want to watch the content and look at things and see it, from the external point of view. And sometimes it's tough. I'm definitely one of those people to really enact and get in action with that particular process. And it's scary, for sure. It's totally scary. It's one of those things that, it takes a lot of courage to be able to move through. So, if you're in that process of right on the edge of the new, and you see that horizon, you see that new life coming right there on the other side, but you feel like you're not quite there yet. Jump into it, lean into it, lean forward, lean into that death of the old and into the new. One way that I like to help assist and aid with that in my own process is to look at those cycles externally, and to look at nature, and to look at how things die and things grow and are born anew. And it's just been really beautiful for me being here with my family, because I get the opportunity to see, as I'm staying with my parents here in their house, my mom babysitting my niece and my other sister's friend's little baby, and I'm reminded, of this just beauty, this tenderness, this purity of new life. Here we are, we have this next generation that are being born. You look and you see a baby and you're like, wow, so much possibility, so much potential there. And it's just a good opportunity to, reflect that back within myself and say, like, wow, every single moment I have an opportunity to be born again anew. They say in the Bible, in the Abrahamic faith, to enter into the kingdom of God, you got to become like a child. And that's what that process is, of dying to the new self, dying to the present moment, so then we can become born again anew. And another thing too is that in yoga, this is brought all the way back into the present moment with the breath. Each inhale and exhale is a death and a rebirth. And if you can get down to seeing life in that degree of presence, seeing the death and the rebirth in each breath, that, my friends, is super powerful. So it's been incredible on this trip, getting to see family, getting to see a couple of old friends, just having an opportunity to get a little bit of respite, having an opportunity to get some rest, have an opportunity to be in a different climate from Phoenix. Phoenix is cool. Of course, the week that I'm gone, it's starting to cool down out there. So, of course, the weather's great here in Texas, and it's flat. There's no mountains, but there's grass and, way cheaper gas prices. But it's just a really amazing time to reflect on all of the changes that have gone on in my life. And I encourage you to look at all the different changes that have gone in your life and where you are now, and peep the synchronicities, and look at the way that God takes away the old in order for the new to come back in. And even those concepts and those things that stand the test of time, that really do endure, look at those a little bit more and remind thyself how it is that things endure also. And that is where there's possibly, maybe, just maybe, a tinge of wisdom. Maybe, just maybe, as my teacher says. So anyways, Joshua here, channel Mutation. Mutation changes. In order for evolution to occur, mutation must occur. God bless y'all. See you here later.